you guys, it's not every week a benefit show or a currently
Benefit
incarcerated
concert?
person, a benefit concert for a currently incarcerated person ends up being a front for two of rap's biggest stars to bury the hatchet. But that's what the Larry Hoover benefit show sort of felt like, right?
That
Um,
guy, Alexis Petridis, has the craziest sideburns.
Shout out to Alexis Petridis, the guy who wrote this article we're looking at. If you listen to this, come on the pod.
At the Guardian.
But you know what's
I
so
like
wild
this
about
headline though. Can we read the headline real quick? I'm sorry, no. Kanye West and Drake review of the concert. The end of an overcooked beef.
That's such a white guy headline. I'm sorry.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good dad
It's
joke.
good. It's good.
It's a
But it's
good
like
dad joke.
over,
It is. No, it is.
overcooked beef. But that's good. I like it. It's just kind of corny but good.
I just feel like it's only kind of right that we start with this because it was sort of it felt like a big deal. But yeah, Drake and Kanye put on a hell of a show. It was like what, 2 hours, the Thursday night. I want to hope that the ticket sales they sold out the Los Angeles Coliseum. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They sold that out. So I'm hoping that of that money they raised, maybe some of that will go towards
Yeah.
Larry Hoover's family or.
I don't know if it's going towards Larry Hoover's family, but there's a few organizations it's going toward.
For like
let me
prison
find it
reform
exactly.
nonprofit, and they're good organizations too. It was a good cause.
good orgs, all that stuff. But I don't know how I feel about it. And you know what's also was not being talked about enough. Remember in the beginning we were listening and it was just like the lights, but we couldn't see anything. And we heard a woman talking about Larry Hoover.
Yeah,
that was his wife.
That was his wife.
That was his wife. Nobody even discussed.
I thought it was Alice Brown.
I'm pretty sure I heard that was his wife. That's what I
Where did you hear that from?
I forgot what article I read, but I'm pretty sure I read that was his wife.
I just want to know.
I thought it was the lady that Kim Kardashian helped get.
Oh, really?
Clemency from Trump.
I want to know if it was live or recorded. That's what we couldn't. When you were watching from home, you saw like some weird offshot of the crowd. You couldn't see the actual stage. So that's what I was curious of. I wanted to know, was that person live or was this just like an audio recording of someone talking about Larry Hoover? Because really the only time his name came up or sort of the advocacy part of this came up was during that brief sort of monologue like Noah was mentioning, which happened before the concert started. So people watching at home couldn't really see her. It was very hard to hear. But that was the only time the actual topic of Larry Hoover came up. The rest of the show was really just Kanye and Drake performing, which I wasn't mad at because it was a good show. I think Kanye West easily reminded a whole bunch of people why we tolerate him because he, for many of us, has like had the soundtrack of like our lives. The amount of nostalgia that comes with like singing.
So her name was Alice Johnson.
And that was a woman that Kim helped free, right?
Was that the person talking?
She made a video for it and
was really
about it too.
For some reason, I heard that was his wife, but
we're journalists. We can't come. We have to come here when it's twice confirmed.
No matter.
Alice Johnson. So.
Yeah, but the orgs that the money's going to is ex-cons for community and social change, Hustle 2.0, and Uptown's People's Law Center. I think two of those are orgs in Chicago specifically, which is where Larry Hoover is from. But nothing specifically like a Larry Hoover Foundation or a Larry Hoover
that may not exist. We don't even know if he has a foundation in his name. I guess if they're helping fund prisoner, that it's good to know that the advocacy part of this wasn't lost. I think we can say that.
Yeah.
But I guess
they did not mention Larry.
It just
Hoover
wasn't like they didn't even say yo, free Larry Hoover. They never even said that once.
And that's what it's like. Even if the goal is to raise awareness to his case, I'm not sure how you did that because you have this audience of what I'm assuming is like millions of people. I'm gonna go ahead and just go on that limb watching this. And where does the awareness piece kick in if you don't say his name at all while you're on stage? So that felt like a little weird. The show itself, like this headline kind of implies, I feel like it was more of this public show that Drake and Kanye are fine now, and they have ended the beef. Like they walked into the Coliseum together. They, really kind of fed off one another's energy. They covered each other's songs. Drake did 24. Kanye West did Find Your Love. That was nice.
I loved it. I had a really fun time watching it. Even though it was like 2 a.m. But I really.
Do you think Drake saw the set list? What's our take? Do you think Drake?
I honestly, genuinely think he I think it's like a perfect example of we always talk about how they have different philosophies on music, where Drake was like, okay, I'm gonna use this as an opportunity for promo.
Yeah.
And he got to sing his new songs because he's never done that before. you know.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because that's a good point because Kanye's already done all of Donda basically live 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Kanye was just like, yo, let me just remind people. I think he was just like in that kind of mood.
And I'm happy he did that.
I think people are thinking like, oh, Drake did. I think Drake knew, and he was like, I'm gonna do these new songs. I'm gonna get these new songs off, and it was fine. It was fine.
It was good.
This may be a little bit too deep in reading into it, but I would like to say it was also sort of Drake's way of saying like, there's no need to sort of, to Avery's point, compare us because we have 2 different agendas. Like Kanye is an established. He will always be Kanye West. He will always be that legend in rap. He can perform his old catalog hits. Yeah. Meanwhile, Drake is still trying to dominate the current sound. It's like they're 2 different lanes.
Yeah. I was also reading something from Craig Johnson. He wrote for Vulture about this concert. He was bringing up the fact that like, Kanye was singing all these old songs, but he was, he probably got a little too deep sometimes because he forgot the lyrics to some of those songs. And like it kind of showed that like Drake's the more polished performer, but Kanye's the more passionate performer.
That's exactly.
Like, Drake would never show up in his old songs and like forget lyrics because he's a performer. But Kanye is like, he's passionate, and that's just what he's gonna do.
Which I'm not gonna lie, people were doing too much of Kanye forgetting the words. I'm like, Kanye was performing. Basically off of like.
I didn't forget the words.
Some of which are like more than 20 years old. Like hit it like nearing 20 years old. Like
it's fine.
You know.
I'm not knocking him for it. Like I didn't forget the words.
Oh yeah, not you. I just meant like the timeline.
Yeah.
I think the timeline was making fun of him, but I think from what I saw too, the timeline was loving what Kanye was doing.
Oh, for sure.
I think it was funny. It was like, oh, look at Kanye not remember the lines. But I mean, everybody knew the lines anyway, so it was like we kind of fill it in ourselves, and I was loving it. When I Wonder came on, I got the chills, man.
He did all of my favorites. But okay, friends, we probably spent too much time talking about Kanye and Drake.
We're talking about Kanye.
But I mean, I guess this is sort of a big deal because we did cover like the beef part of it pretty extensively, like when that was happening. So it's at least nice that that's finally over for now, at least. But on that note, welcome to the 97 Demo podcast, where we give you the latest music news and a whole bunch along the way. I'm one of your 3 hosts, Nnamdi Igwanwu, joined by
Noah McGee
and Avery Dalal.
Love that. So you guys, this week we're not going to do headlines because we're launching our year-end series. And this week is Artist of the Year. Next week we're going to be talking about the headlines of the year. And the week after we'll be doing, of course, our Albums of the Year episode. So since next week is literally going to be dedicated to just going back through some of the biggest music headlines of 2021, we are just going to save this week's headlines for that. Plus, this is really kind of a jam-packed episode on its own because basically the idea is we're sort of presenting you with our list of 15 artists who really sort of stood out this year in 2021, whether it's their music, whether it was because of their music or because of something else completely different, whether it was a cause that they put on the map or an initiative they spearheaded. Just us talking about 15 artists that we think really sort of made a difference in 2021. And sort of for the first time compiling our Artist of the Year list. Sure. Do you guys have anything to add to this intro, what this is about?
I don't know. It's just really interesting considering like a year after COVID of like artists really like opening up this year. Cause I feel like last year it would have looked so different. Cause like, for example, I would have think like producers would have been like Swizz Beatz, even though he's not like an artist technically. I feel like he would have had a case for this list like last year or something like that. Cause of the Versus thing, and obviously Weeknd and other artists like that. But like, it's just so interesting. Like a year after COVID, all these artists that like, cause like it was really hard thinking of people because like, yo, they had a great album, but we really wanted to make sure like artists that did stuff outside of just like, oh, a good album, like,
because we're having that, and we're gonna talk about the best albums. That's its own episode. So we wanted it to be a little bit bigger than just your albums, like,
or you broke out and like people took notice. It could be just for music. Like some people on here just had exceptional years in music because the albums released were like so critically acclaimed,
and maybe the bar was super high for them as well. So it's like not only was your album acclaimed,
3 people on this list
jump to reach it.
I'm looking at 3 people on this list that did not release music this year. And have not released music in a little while. So like. It's but still we're like dominating headlines and create a lot of discussion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we want to sort of have a conversation about those artists because really they're the ones who kind of kept things moving this year and sort of gave us things to look at this year. So
the movers and shakers.
The movers and shakers. Yes. So I guess we'll just go ahead and get started. Mind you guys, this isn't in any order. There are 15 artists. Some of the they're of across all genres, across the whole shebang. So bear with us as we go through it. And I just figured the person I thought we should start with, and who undoubtedly is on this list, is Olivia Rodrigo. Just because I'm not sure when the last time I saw a rise this sort of meteoric in such a short amount of time. And admitted, it's easy to forget that Driver's License dropped February, like very, very early this year. And this was someone who, to most people over the age of like 22, wasn't well known. You know, she was doing the Disney High School Musical series, so she had a lot of teen fans, maybe a lot of younger fans. But beyond that, this is someone who was still very, very, very new. And she just all of a sudden drops a song, Driver's License, that happens to sort of just grow into this huge phenomenon where the entire world is singing this bridge, and SNL is doing skits about how grown men are fawning over like the lyrics of the song. And I think for me, it was also cool to sort of see her clearly influenced by people we grew up with, like your Paramores and your Taylor Swifts.
You know what I want to say about? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can go. I
was gonna say, like, you know, some people might say like Billie Eilish blew up like a couple years ago, but I was like, the difference is this: Billie Eilish had like a couple like other things out. She had that little EP before.
Yeah.
Olivia Rodrigo had nothing out before this year. Literally no music. No music at all, other than the High School Musical like stuff on the, like, you know, obviously the show. If they had like a little like you know, soundtrack,
musical,
but like
the musical,
like soundtrack, series. Yes, like, or like a sound, exactly. But like literally, she had no official music at all, and she literally. It's rare you see an artist, their first thing ever, period, drop, and then they get popping like that. It wasn't like just a one-hit wonder thing. She dropped the whole album and people loved it. It's not like she had these fans that like,
it could have easily
she was bubbling a little bit, you know?
It could have easily been a one-hit wonder situation.
Exactly.
But I think that speaks to like the quality of the music that she released afterwards, and like the nostalgia that she was able to tap into, not just from like like, oh, I just got my driver's license and I broke up with my first boyfriend. Not just that, like thematically, but also like musically, throwing back to like Paramore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She captured nostalgia in a very large way.
Large sense.
And there was something equally so refreshing about that, even though it is sort of referencing older sounds. There was something so just sort of unique and just something that I really appreciated, just seeing her come out and like take these old sounds that we grew up with and make it her own. Even though I know she ultimately ended up having to pay Paramore and Taylor Swift and all these people, but still, she made the sound her own. And Avery, to your point, I think, you know, I have not been shy to say I wish her first album was an EP, because I think Sour was just a little bit too condensed for it to really be its own really well-rounded body of work. That aside, though, two things can be true. I can feel that way, but also acknowledge that the collection of songs that did make that album were all bangers. They were all very good songs. And I think that's showcased by the fact that literally half of the album at this point went like number one, like Good For You, Driver's License. What's the other one? Deja Vu.
Yeah, like now, like
my
Trader's
personal favorite
a hit right
Brutal.
now.
Brutal.
Trader's a hit right now.
Trader's a hit right now. Like, and her visuals have all been pretty good and consistent. Amazing. And like, I just think that takes so much work, and to do it from such a young age. And, you know, we now know that she's really involved in her songwriting. Some of her songs are just her and like one other person.
And there's some really good songwriting on this album. Like, I'm thinking of Traitor right now, where she's like, "You didn't cheat, but you're still a traitor." Like, those are like really real feelings, and like
that people older than her can resonate to, as well as people younger than her going through their first breakups. You know, and that's what I think explains her success.
One thing I just love about it is like when people reference nostalgia, they're thinking 90s, 80s. Like, she's talking about early, like when people talk about nostalgia, they're talking about like early 2000s.
She's
like that's
18.
not that long
like,
ago, and
so
she's
young.
18.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool that like our generation gets to kind of experience, like, because you hear our parents like, oh, look at this, all that retro stuff, like this takes me back. And then we can really say like, oh, this takes me back to like 05, 03.
Because she was born in like 2003. Like, she's she's young.
Baby.
And that's why I think that's why I appreciate it so much. So I think this is such a sign of what the future is going to be. These are the sounds that people are going to be pulling from when they want to do a throwback sound. You know, it's not going to be 90s, 2000s. It's going to be 2010s. Like, and I think Sweetie kind of gave us that from the hip hop side with how much she sampled, you know, early 2000 classics. And Olivia Rodrigo sort of doing it from the pop side, and I can appreciate that. So, Olivia, for the fact that you were able to spin Driver's License into like 4 number one singles, an insanely successful album, being named Time's Entertainer of the Year, I think she got like 7 Grammy nominations, including all of the big 4. She's poised to do a sweep. I wouldn't be surprised.
She's gonna do really well at the Grammys.
Yeah. Go listen to our review that we did on episode 45 with Hope, our editor of the newsletter. So, yeah.
And we definitely touch on it all, but I think because you did all that, that definitely earns her a spot on this list in my eyes.
Absolutely.
I feel like if we were ranking it, I probably would want to keep her. I'm not gonna say this for all of them, but like if we were ranking this,
she's near the top. She's near the top.
She's absolutely near the top.
For sure.
Mine just isn't in order though, so we're just sort of going as we wrote this down. The next sort of name that we put on our list is also sort of a new Gen Zer, I think, Lil Nas X. And gosh, so NBC News. I'm just gonna read the headline as they wrote it. But I do want to preface that this is NBC News Out. So this is sort of the vertical that is meant to sort of amplify LGBTQ voices. Their headline for the story is Lil Nas X's song about gay sex earns 3 Grammy nominations. Hilarious. They're referencing, of course, Montero, "Call Me by Your Name," which was nominated for Song, Record, and Song, Record of the Year, and Best Music Video at the Grammys. And while this headline is incredibly crass, it is part of the reason I thought he deserved a spot on this list. Anything that's associated with gay for a long time was sort of considered taboo, and not really music, but hip hop specifically. Any association, you're weak. You're not a man. You can't do this. That's that's sort of the mentality that's the mentality that dominated hip hop for so long. And I think, in my opinion, really sort of limited creative expression, because you had people who had these ideas that may have been considered too feminine and they just trashed them. I can get into Rick Ross's whole album cover if I wanted to, but that's one perfect example. So him changing it. So I think for Lil Nas X sort of come out literally kind of within a year, sort of come out on his sexuality, then make, a music video that really leans into it and not be afraid to do performances that really lean into it, knowing that he's alienating himself to a degree in the hip hop community, knowing that he's setting himself up for beefs with like your little Boosies and other people who just may not be there yet. For him to do all of that so boldly and just, be rewarded for it, I think it's worth pointing that out.
When I think about Lil Nas X, I think about like he's literally the like embodiment of like this generation of like not giving a what I'm saying, like he just doesn't care. And I just remembered this. Remember he released that Devil shoe this year with Nike? Yeah. No, it wasn't with Nike, but he essentially did the Devil shoe when there was blood in it and everything. Like he did that and he was like, yeah, I did this because obviously the music video where he's obviously like dancing on the devil and whatnot, which is a great music video too. But yeah, it's just like he was involved in so much and he just really doesn't care how people think about him. Like he really genuinely doesn't care. He used it to his advantage at all times.
Well, no, so I actually want to like poke at that a little bit, because I think when we say he doesn't care, that sort of it makes it seem like he's just he's going to do whatever he wants to do because he doesn't care what the world thinks. And I think that actually kind of robs him of some of his credit, because the way I sort of see him, I think he does care. And I think it's very plausible that like the immense hatred he gets bothers him. And I think it is possible that him feeling alienated from rap because of what he does bother. He's tweeted about how like he couldn't find any male rapper to get on his album. Like, I think all that stuff very much so may weigh on him. But I think what makes this even more impressive is that despite all of that, he's still willing to do it because he sees the bigger purpose for it. Even if it's just, his brand or making money or whatever have you, I think it's deeper. And I think he recognizes that like he's represents something new in this genre. And he's really kind of pushing for this change. And that's going to be hard. People aren't going to like him. It may weigh heavily on him, but he's willing to do it for the sake of whatever bigger cause that keeps him going. And he's also young. Isn't he like 20?
Yeah, he's really young.
He's like really young.
2021.
Yeah, and you think about it, he's been around for a little while now. Like we've known who he is for I think probably like over 2 years now, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, when did Old Town Road come on?
Road was that a
that was like 2019.
That was 2019. That was 2019.
That EP drop came out in 2019.
I know, and everybody was questioning like, "Yo, how's he gonna do on the album?" It feels like he's a one. It feels like
everyone thought he was gonna hit wonder.
And I think the crazy thing and the cool thing is, and I think we all have different opinions on the album, but like I think we can all confidently say the music's gotten better. And
Absolutely.
like, this, he released one of my favorite songs this year in Industry Baby. Like I love that song.
That's a banger. That's like literally a banger.
That's my personal favorite song.
That's
fantastic song.
That's the definition of like a banger. Like the horn. That's literally the definition.
So it's just like on top of all this stuff where he's like unabashedly just like himself and like really puts himself out.
That's
there.
what I
meant.
On
top of all of that, the music's good and it's getting.
That's
better.
what I meant. That's what I meant. Like just being himself. I obviously he does care. He cares about what people think. Obviously, but I think that's a better way to put it. Avery. Like just being himself, 100%.
Yeah.
That's a better way to put it.
He dominates conversation. Like he's always. People want to talk about him.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna say this like is cause and effect because correlation doesn't equal causation. But I will say I have noticed amid the rise of Lil Nas X, you're seeing Kid Cudi wear a skirt and go walk down a red carpet with the guy. You're seeing NBA YoungBoy say he will do wear makeup. Like I don't think I'm not saying they looked at him and said I'm gonna do this, but I do think there becomes a broader sort of shift that happens when you have one person who's willing to say I don't care, F it.
Well,
and
it just
that makes it easier for everyone else to sort of start to say I don't care, F it.
Yeah, I just feel like there's been a natural shift in hip hop of people being like willing to color outside the lines. Lil Nas X is kind of like taking it all the way. He kind of just like I'm the one that's gonna push.
Well, he's the one that's gay, so
yeah, exactly. But okay, but he could be gay and still not do like dance on the devil. Like he could be gay and just be gay. There's one thing to be gay.
You're right. We see Tyler the Creator who barely will own up to his sexuality.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like
it's not our business.
Exactly. But Tyler the Creator's not dancing on the devil. Like what I'm saying. Like butt naked.
Yeah.
Like
Lil Nas X has an idea and he does it.
He actually does it. You know what I'm saying? Like
and
he's
dancing I think also like embodies the Gen Z sort of troll. Like he the way he responds to the hate he got, I think has absolutely helped propel his career.
No artist is better at Twitter than Lil Nas X.
I like how we can call it Gen Z, like we're above a generation now. I love that. Like, oh, look at him, Gen Zers. Look at that.
I still am not convinced I'm not Gen Z. I just don't identify with like either at this point. I don't know if I'm millennial or Gen Z. I'm in between, I guess.
I'm actually a card-holding member of Gen Z.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
If you're born in 97, you're like in the middle. Honestly.
Let's see who else is there. Let's see who's next on us. So we have Olivia Rodrigo and Lil Nas X. First two Artists of the Year recipients. If you had an award, they get it.
This one's a little cheating, but I like it.
A little cheating, but
this one isn't cheating because I don't think any of them individually would get this. I think it's specifically Silk Sonic, who is our next inclusion on our Artists of the Year list. I think we can all sort of have our own, talk about why. But for me, it was the fact that they did a Grammy performance in February, or maybe early March, and had us on our necks for the next eight months until an album dropped. And it was a collab that if you were really read into Bruno, you knew that Anderson .Paak opened for him. You maybe would have guessed it, but most of us didn't. So it came off as a bit of a surprise. And I think they did it really well. I think they had a sound that they sort of killed. They committed to this like artistic vision throughout this entire rollout process. And I think there's something to be said for that, for both Bruno and Anderson .Paak, Silk Sonic.
Yeah, I agree. I think, even though like if you pay attention to Bruno and like his career and obviously Anderson .Paak opened for him, I think it is surprising for a guy like me because Bruno Mars is really a certified super duper pop star who's performing at Super Bowls. Anderson .Paak, while well known, these super dope artists, is really not quite on that level. I can't think of a collaboration quite like this, honestly, where like these artists on two different levels literally came together like this. Like usually when we see collabs, it's like, okay, these two artists who are around the same level in the same part in their careers are coming together. This is literally like super duper pop star and guy who was an underground artist that's kind of that's buzzing now. Like
it's still shocking to me that Anderson .Paak didn't have any Billboard hit.
It's crazy, but he's so dope. But he's still not as big as you think he would. But he's still not as big as some of the like other artists that are doing creative things, which is so interesting. So hopefully this will come to that.
I remember when they announced it, like they were doing a collab, and I was like, that is so random. But like it makes so much sense.
So perfect.
Yeah.
And then they did it and it was like, this is like, it's peanut butter and jelly. Like it's perfect. This is the perfect combination. They sounded incredible. Agreed. And to Nnamdi's point, like they had a sound and they stuck to it. For better or for worse, they stuck to it.
They stuck to it, and
they gave us 9 songs.
If you want to hear more, listen to episode 69.
Link in bio.
Link it. Well, hey. Plug. We got episodes on all these people basically, so
We do.
So that's great.
I mean, yeah, I think that's really all I have to say about them. I think because
for sure.
they kept us watching. So it's funny.
I hope they do more together.
And honestly, I hope more artists do this. Not to say
agree.
collabs aren't a thing already, right? Especially in rap. Collabs happen all the time. But I think it's the collab, yes, but also the new sound part too.
Yeah.
Like not just doing what you're already known for, which you could argue Bruno was kind of, whatever. But I think it is coming together, picking a new sort of sound and just sticking to it, like having a vision and really letting us have it. I would love to see more artists do that.
It's really cool that he, Pac went from opening for Bruno to coming out with an album with him, like co-headlining an album with him a couple years later.
That's levels. That's leveling up. So super dope.
Agreed.
Super dope.
Ooh, Avery, this one,
Avery, lead the way,
girl. All right,
lead the way.
So our
Avery.
next one is Japanese Breakfast. Michelle Zauner. She had a hell of a year. So she had her album come out, Jubilee. She had a book come out, Crying in H Mart, wonderful book. And then she got a movie deal from the book. And then also got two Grammy nominations. So
wow.
We may say Olivia Rodrigo had like the most meteoric year, but Japanese Breakfast may have
had the most impressive.
Like the most impressive.
Yeah.
So the fact that all this was this year.
She also
scored an album.
She scored a video game. Like,
not to mention she went on tour.
Y'all saw her live.
Yeah.
I know. So I think a lot goes around in this day and age about like parasocial relationships and getting attached to people you don't know because of the internet. But like after listening to her music, listening to this new album, reading the book, I felt like I know her. Like she put herself out there so much this year that like there's random people like me are like, oh, like I know a lot of very intimate details about her life now.
Yeah.
And not to mention that her album is my favorite album of the year. Spoiler, it'll be on the top of my list.
Number one?
Number one. Like it's been number one since it came out.
Spoiler!
Over Phoebe? No, I'm kidding.
And I'm obsessed. I really am obsessed. She's one of my favorite artists now. Like did not take.
I mean, the most impressive part of this is the fact that she wrote a book. Like that's like music is one thing.
Nothing to do with
and
music.
It was deeply raw.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, exactly.
It
nothing.
was about
it's not
her experience of of her mother passing away from cancer.
Yeah, something totally different.
It would have been
different. It still would have been impressive, but different. It was like, yeah, this is a book about me writing the album and went into it. That would have been different. Like the fact that it's a totally different subject. She barely even
mentioned that she was in a band till like the end.
That's so awesome.
But what I will say though is I do appreciate. I feel like all of her efforts this year were sort of interwoven, because even though, like you said, she doesn't really touch on her music as much in the book. In the I remember when we saw her live and she was explaining some of the songs she was performing off of Jubilee. There were some she hit on where she was like, I wrote this about my boyfriend who was really there for me,
and
during this time.
Is in her band.
Her husband's in her band. That what she references how like some of the stuff she's singing about was informed by experiences she details in the book. Like everything was sort of interconnected, even though it was sort of individual. Like everything was still on its own.
I did not know her husband.
No, it makes sense.
That makes sense.
Part of the book was her talking about why she decided to marry her husband and how they met and how they kind of rushed the marriage so her mother could see it.
Yeah.
And then, we went to the show and it's like, oh, that's the guy. Like, that's him right there playing guitar. And
I didn't even know.
Played together on stage. And, even Nnamdi, like, at the concert, people being like, oh, I love you, Andrew. Like, like we know her, like, her guitarist and husband's name. So she really did put a lot of herself out there, and I paid off. So.
And the fact that her year is ending with 2 Grammy noms, because let's be real, like she had
solidifies it.
She had all this acclaim, but we've seen the Grammys miss a lot of incredibly talented, I'm gonna say underrated for lack of a better term, artists. So to see her get recognized not only in a rock category, but also the general field to get Best New Artist nom. I think that's
solidifies her later. Yes, it solidifies it for sure.
I want to make a brief correction though, because it really isn't Japanese Breakfast. Then it's Michelle Zauner, that should be on the list because she's the one who's doing all this. So shout out to her.
For sure. Ooh, this one is great. Jasmine Sullivan.
Yes.
Wow. Let me just hold on. Can y'all guess when did her album come out? Like, can y'all guess the date?
Oh gosh, wait.
First week in January
2nd.
What you think?
It was like January 8th.
Oh, on the nose. Got it.
It was 8th.
Wow.
January 8th on the nose, man.
Yo,
That's
which is insane.
You know what's
Crazy,
insane
crazy,
about
crazy.
this too? When this album came out, we literally discussed like, man, this album's good, but is it gonna get forgotten? It's so hard to like, it's hard to judge an album that came out early in the year because obviously you listen to it close to the year, but when the year ends, it's tough to like evaluate which album is the best. But the fact that a lot of lists are putting her in the top 5, and obviously Pitchfork put her at number 1, speaks to the quality of this album and how much people are loving it. Because Jasmine Sullivan has always been like the underdog of R&B. Seriously, people are like, oh my gosh, Jasmine Sullivan's so talented. Why isn't she bigger? She's literally been the underdog, and the fact that she's getting this kind of acclaim, success, and recognition is super awesome to see. You go, girl.
Yeah, and I feel like even beyond just that, it's also the fact that like I'm trying to check here to make sure I don't get it wrong. Hotels literally had 14 songs, some of which were just like interludes.
Yeah, it's like 7 songs, I think, right?
It's like half an hour. It's the fact that it packed so much into such a short amount of time is, I think, why this album stands out. Because thematically, it's not entirely that different from what like a Summer Walker's album is, where they're both incredibly raw, very emotional. They both have narration throughout. They both really lean heavily into storytelling. But I think the main difference for me is the fact that Jasmine Sullivan did all of that in 32 minutes. And
not
like,
easy to do. Which
is hard. Everything still felt so raw, and her vocals are. And Jasmine Sullivan, it really is one of the best singers.
She's an incredible singer.
Yeah,
the things you can do with her voice is insane. So to know, to your point, the fact that this was the first week of January and this is held up 50-ish weeks later, that's insane.
Well, I also want to I love that you point that out, how she packed in it, because I think some people think like, y'all know I love short albums, but I think people think making a short album is easier. I would argue that's harder because there's so many songs like these artists are making throughout the creative process. You want to put them all on there, and it's really hard to whittle down like what really needs to be on there. And the fact that she did that and it was successful, really salute to her doing that. And I think it's hard. And hey man, people love this album still to this day. Which I'm really happy for Jasmine Sullivan. Yeah, man, like she's literally like, don't you guys literally see once a year like Jasmine Sullivan is not, big enough. She should not. Why is she not getting?
But the thing is, she's always gotten her flowers in the R&B world. Is this unfortunate that I feel the general public doesn't really uplift R&B the way it should? They never have,
Yeah, for sure.
Wait, she got a Grammy nomination, didn't she?
She had to.
I'm about to Google this because I don't know.
We about to.
Wait, hold on. I'm about to get a little mad.
It's just crazy the fact that like we're almost 1 year out from like literally almost like 3 weeks away from like being 1 year since this album has been out, and like we're still talking about it, and it's like literally 7 songs on the album.
Okay,
like 7 songs.
Oh, she got hella. Okay, no, she got R&B album, R&B song, R&B performance.
Would not be mad if she got R&B album.
She should. I wouldn't be. And she actually won, I believe, Album of the Year at the Soul Train Awards not too long ago. So she at least has that. So Jasmine Sullivan absolutely on our list for that reason. Next, ladies and gents, we have Navy Blue, which I'll let you handle this one because you kind of teased it earlier in the show. Why an artist like him is on the list?
You know what number he is on this? No,
I think he's 38, and he had technically they kind of cheated because they have 2 albums on there. Technically, because one came out like late in December. You see that, but Navy Blue is obviously an underground artist, really really low key. But I think people who are in the know about like streetwear and like underground music can really respect what he did, because obviously on top of being an artist, dude models for Supreme, he models for Calvin Klein like on the regular. He's always in there like spring catalog, fall catalog, whatnot. And also, he released 2 albums within the past year that are pretty incredible, honestly. The first one is obviously Song of Sage, Post Panic, which came out December 17th, I believe, in 2020. And Nave's Reprise, which is a great album that came out, I think, mid-year. I don't remember the exact date, but 2 great albums. And on top of that, he produced for Wiki, which is obviously another New York artist. He produced the whole thing. Which is obviously considered one of the best albums this year. He works with artists like Earl Sweatshirt, Mike. I've mentioned these guys before, but I think he just had a really prolific year. Obviously, he was a star of the Alchemist EP. Obviously, that was great, that we love. Obviously, that song's great with Earl.
Love that.
That exactly. So I think he just had a really prolific year in terms of music and really raised his profile in terms of like among underground's best. Because obviously, underground, like you think of like these legends of like underground music and whatnot.
This feels like the first stage of like breaking out. Like he like broke into like, you know, kind of underground, feels like circles. Like people are starting to hear about it. I wouldn't be surprised if like next year or the year after he breaks out again.
I could see him getting to a level kind of like where Freddie Gibbs is at.
Exactly.
Or like Griselda or Benny the Butcher. Because like
yeah,
obviously those
I
are
was
guys
gonna
who still
say
consider underground. Yeah,
it gives strong Griselda vibes. That's what I was gonna say.
It's like people know, like people
totally
know
different sound, but same
well,
vibes.
No,
Of like,
not sound wise. I'm saying just a sort of acclaim, just sort of how it felt like you sort of wake up one day and all of a sudden everyone's recognizing someone that you may have been following for a minute or maybe, you know, and it is well deserved. I always get happy when it happens when you know people who deserve it get the attention, and I think he made really a really strong project. And Navy's reprise, excuse me, I found out I've been saying that wrong my entire life.
Yeah, I wouldn't like if we do this list again next year or the year after, like he could easily be on it again. Like I would not be shocked.
Yeah, and I'm very excited to sort of see where he goes.
And he was number on CNN's top 10, which I was super shocked about. He was in what number was he? He was number. Let me find it. He was number 9 on CNN's top 10. I was literally shocked. I was like, oh wow,
Chris Cuomo CNN.
Yeah, Chris Cuomo CNN put Navy Blue in the top 10. He was number 9. Obviously, it was Jasmine Sullivan and a bunch of good artists. But
don't forget to
so shout out to Navy Blue. I went to his show last night, him and Wiki. Great show. So yeah, excuse me for the alarms in the background.
No, do you mind?
We in the ghetto, y'all. We in the ghetto. We in the gutter. If you didn't know, we in the gutter.
And he's like 24, y'all. Navy Blue is 24. That's
super
insane.
young.
Everyone, all these people on this list make me look at myself like, damn.
Well, the next person will make you feel pretty young too.
Okay. Well, this makes me feel better. So Kanye West, or Ye, excuse me, the man formerly known as Kanye West is on this list. Before you say why is Kanye on this list, I would ask you to tell me why he shouldn't be on this list. I'm gonna say I sort of really pushed for Ye's inclusion. Because not only did he come out with Donda, which I think was a very, very good album, at least for Kanye West, it sort of felt like a return to form almost. It was messy and chaotic, yes, but still felt experimental and like
best album since My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Still
and innovative. Yeah,
Life of Pablo, totally.
It's his first album in a while that felt like it's sort of on par as some of the classics you really value. So I think that alone could have warranted his inclusion as sort of like it's never too late. People can always bounce back. But beyond that, I think it's the way he did it. I think it's the fact that Kanye was sort of unprecedented in doing this whole listening tour thing, where he went to Atlanta and Chicago and literally did run-throughs of his album, sort of got live feedback from fans, then would go tweak said album and then come out, and then, before putting it out.
They've got more and more refined as you listen. Well, quote unquote refined, but they got more and more refined as you got through it.
New songs each time.
Yeah,
and at least in Atlanta, I don't know if he did it in Chicago, but I know in Atlanta he had it. So if you went to an HBCU, you got like cheap tickets. I don't know if it was
tickets,
but it was like
discounted.
I want to say.
Yeah,
it's free.
Okay, well, yeah, okay, perhaps free tickets, which would have been insane. But the fact that he did that to me, I think also like speaks a lot, to sort of his intentions there and who he kind of wanted the feedback from, sort of thing. But no one has done that before, at least on this magnitude that I've seen. No other artist has ever took an album that they weren't completely confident in, that wasn't finished yet, that it had verses that didn't arrive yet, and played it in front of a massive audience, got their feedback, felt the energy, then used it to refine the album, then put it out. I thought that was just sort of unprecedented in his approach. Not to mention what the stage looked like. It's Kanye sort of in this stage where he, of his career, where he can just do whatever he wants. Like he can just try things that other artists probably can never get away with.
Burned a house down.
That's what I was gonna say.
He burned a house down and reenacted his marriage, and it worked.
Wild.
That's another thing. It wasn't just a listening show. Like it would be one thing if he just brought a big crowd, just played music, and he just stood there, which he did the first show. Literally, he just stood there. But the spectacle, which is like a big part of that. Because like obviously it's so that like I'm thinking about the transition from each show, because I watched that first one and he literally was standing there. We have the picture if you're watching on YouTube. He was just in an all red, standing as music played, walking around the stadium. In the third one, it was a huge show. It was burning houses, people getting married, all kinds of other controversial things, but still made a huge impact into how fans consume music. Because when people got the album, you're like, man, we've heard this album already 3 times. Literally.
Yeah.
Something I don't know if we've done before. So that's really interesting.
Kanye continues to be the artist that like torments me personally. Like,
Yeah.
I think
All of us.
after a relatively down year for him last year, you kind of forgot about his ability to like dominate headlines, which he did this year. And I think this week was a perfect example where like he did that concert with Drake, played his hits, and I was watching. I was like, oh yeah, this is why I love Kanye. And then 12 hours later, this horrible story comes out about him and an election worker. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is why Kanye annoys me. And
Wait. That was not a Kanye story. I feel the need to sort of interject and clarify. It was his publicist.
That's
It
his
was Kanye West's former publicist, not even a publicist. I did kind of take issue with the way I feel the media framed that, because it was very, very Kanye-centric when it was just like a woman who happened to work with him also did this crazy stuff before.
Fair.
You know,
Fair.
not every day I defend Kanye West, but on that one.
This
But
is
you know, you see what I'm getting at, where it's like he has, you know, his
I know,
music's
yeah, I'm sorry.
amazing
I know,
and
yes.
very nostalgic for me. And then, you know, he'll do something or say something where I'm just like I disagree heavily with all that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, he is that dude, and he will always be nostalgic for it. Like, he means a lot to people our age, and
Yeah.
this year just kind of reminded me of that.
And I think the fact that it ended with Donda getting an album of the year is big. So that was sort of, I think that's why you see Kanye West as one of our artists of the year. And I feel good about that.
I do too.
Yep.
Okay. So let's see. Next on our list. So far, guys, you've had Olivia Rodrigo, Lil Nas X, Silk Sonic, Michelle Zauner of Japanese Breakfast, Jasmine Sullivan, Navy Blue, and now, yay, Kanye West. This next one, very excited about. Taylor Swift, which that was not intended for to come right after Kanye. That just is how that happened to happen.
They're always intertwined.
They're always intertwined.
Oh wow, I didn't even think about that.
So Taylor Swift is not on this list because of her music specifically per se, right? She's more on this list for sort of what I think her re-releasing her music represents and sort of stands for. We sort of covered last year the whole Taylor Swift Masters debacle, where she tried to buy her master recordings for Big Machine Records. Is that what it's called? Or her record, and I believe they were based in Nashville. She tried to buy her masters from them. They said no. They sold them to Scooter Braun. Scooter Braun wasn't necessarily giving it to her. He sold them to some financial holding company. Long story short, Taylor Swift couldn't get the masters recordings, which is kind of sort of like ownership of her first, I believe, 6 albums. Her response to that was re-recording them. She announced that, I think, last year or maybe even the year before, and this year just started releasing them. She released Red Taylor's version, and then came back out with Fearless.
She hasn't
Fearless.
she done Fearless yet?
She did Fearless. She did Fearless, and she's done Red.
It was Red and Fearless.
Red's
right?
the most recent one.
Red was the most recent. She did, and then I think she did Fearless.
Let me double check right now.
Mind you, guys, Taylor Swift re-released this music. She did sort of give it a couple updated tweaks. I believe she included some new songs with, some current artists. She put out some remixes. I know on Red, she put out a longer version of All Too Well that ended up charting the Billboard Hot 100 as #1, becoming I think the longest #1 song out right now. I think the fact that Taylor Swift was able to re-record the music and to be so successful with it will help all other artists in similar predicament who don't own their music and may need to figure out other ways to get them back. Now, granted, not everyone's Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift was able to sell, I believe, 400K first week for Red Taylor's version, which is sort of ridiculous considering the fact that, again, it's an album we heard 10 years ago. But I think it's sort of what it represents. Ashanti is now re-recording her first album. I don't know if the two are connected, but I will say that's happening now. I think Anita Baker was once tweeted about considering re-recording her music.
This is the role of one of music's biggest artists. If you are one of music's biggest artists, then you are setting the trend for everyone else after you. And Taylor Swift took that responsibility.
And she's done it before.
Yeah,
it's just unprecedented. Something like this, artists hypothetically are talking about, I think somebody like Stevie Wonder, he owns his masters, other artists own their masters, but the fact that, you know what, I'm gonna take it as far as re-recording everything I already did, because obviously that's a lot of work.
All the power back,
all of
part
it
of
back.
Part of me feels bad because there really is someone else who we should be sort of recognizing for this too. JoJo did this before Taylor Swift.
That's your girl.
JoJo re-recorded her first couple of albums because, I believe her label had issues where, she literally didn't own her voice for a very long time. and finally was able to re-record some of her music. She did this like a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So I won't say it's just Taylor who were to put it on the map, but I do think the significance of someone at Taylor's level, like Avery said, doing it and finding success with it, that'll help all the other artists. It'll help smaller artists who are trying to convince a label to fund studio time so they can go re-record their first album.
I think of like LeBron leaving to the Heat, you know, like taking power and like announcing that because he was the biggest player at the time, right? And like this feels like, okay, this massive personality.
She's up there. She's that kind of stature in the music industry.
It feels like that. So
absolutely, I agree.
Absolutely,
I agree.
And I do want to point out that I said she did it before, and when I said that is, remember when there was a trend with like Taylor and Adele and Beyonce where they weren't putting their albums on streaming platforms for a while?
Yeah.
I remember Taylor Swift saying she wasn't going to put her music on streaming until she got a bigger cut. This is on Apple Music, I think. And everyone was kind of telling her, "Oh, like you're rich. Why do you care?" And she was like, "It's not about me. It's about all the smaller acts who aren't getting anything because of how much money they're taking." I remember now is when Apple first launched Apple Music, and I think they were doing like you get a free year. And little did we know that their way of doing that was just by like literally not paying the musicians. And Taylor was like, "No, you can't have my music then." And she literally forced them to sort of change that policy for everyone because she sort of took that stand. And I think this feels like another example of that. And I will give her flowers when it's due.
Yeah, she just continues to be a very thoughtful artist in in many aspects, not just for her fans, like of dropping Easter eggs and clues, but also like in how she thinks of the rest of the industry. Very thoughtful.
Yes. So
shout out you, Taylor.
Exactly. Shout out to
Come on the
Taylor.
podcast.
Come on the pod.
This is Avery special.
This is Avery, and I'm excited. Avery, go ahead and tell us about your favorite TikTok sensation, Pink Panthers.
Yes, Pink Panther. She broke out this year with her like 1.5-minute songs, and like it kind of became a meme where like even she's tweeting about like, "Oh, don't go to the bathroom at my show, you're gonna miss it." I don't even know how old she is. She's probably like 17.
You showed up 15 minutes late to the Pink Panther show
and concert,
to find out you missed the whole thing. Exactly.
She kind of like gained popularity on TikTok because her songs kind of like lended themselves to that. Very sampled music with songs that she made in her bedroom. Yeah, short songs she made in her bedroom. But I think in our very first newsletter this year, I wrote like she's Gen Z's new favorite pop star. Like she's coming, and then it worked. And
Avery called it.
Everyone loves Pink Panthers now. I mean, it's like her music's very undeniably catchy. It's so easy to listen to. If you want to go take a quick run, just throw on some Pink Panthers. And, by the time you run, you might not even be done with your run.
Oh my gosh, I'm still not over.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, that's interesting.
I was really curious when I started listening, like what you guys would think of Pink Panthers, and I was really happy that she resonated with a lot of people.
She does. A lot of people and everybody it's just everybody knows who Pink Panthers is now. So it's kind of interesting. But also the fact that like on interviews, she doesn't really show her face really. I'm pretty sure that's a thing. Like she's just like doing interviews, kind of just like staying out of the like limelight kind of. She kind of feels like she is, but she's kind of put herself in there because of the quality of her music and how interesting it is. And I think it's perfect too, Avery. It's just super catchy. Not catchy in a way that's like, oh, basic. Not in that way. No, but it's like her voice is really unique, obviously. So
there's a good line from this Paper magazine where it says Pink Panther songs are like bubbles, effervescent, sentimental, and fleeting.
Bubbles. I love that. That's great.
They're also like if we're gonna talk about we talked about Olivia Rodrigo earlier, how she captured some sort of nostalgia. If you watch Pink Panther's music videos, it looks like something that was made in the early 2000s.
Yeah, really minimalistic, really basic.
Yeah,
really look like
cool.
Giving me, you're gonna love this, Avery. Giving me Phoebe Bridgers, Kyoto music video vibes.
It gave me like Freaks and Geeks vibes, like that kind of stuff. So
I agree.
Shout out to Pink Panther. Such a cool breakout this year. Such a cool.
And I can't wait to see what she does next. I feel like I feel like Tierra Whack opened my eyes to the power of like short songs if they work, and I like that Pink Panther is making like at least for now a career out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested how her career is gonna evolve. Like if she becomes as she gets
like,
more
what does
mature.
a tour look like? Remember all those tweets you saw where it was like, you show up 15 minutes late, miss the whole show. Like,
yeah, but I'm really interested like how she evolves like years from now. What if she's like having these full blown albums, like 40-minute albums of like 33-minute songs? Like I'm serious, like that could be an evolution of Pink Panthers, and she could be a totally different artist years from now, which is exciting.
Yeah, I was
Really
watching
exciting.
an interview with her, and she was like, and they're like, "Why are your songs so short?" She's like, "I just get bored." Like, she's like, "I don't want to listen to the same thing 3 times." Like,
Exactly.
I'll play
And
it once or twice.
Because that's how Gen Z thinks right now.
That's
Which is
a
why I
young
think she's in
exactly.
that. I stand.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
But I love
she's
it.
kind of like, I won't say she's innovating, but she's popularizing something
Yeah.
very cool. So
Yeah.
Guys,
Shout out
I just
Pink
want to do a correction really quick. Apparently, Red sold 605,000 first week. So
Oh, how about that? How about that much?
That's Taylor Swift. She can does. She
Taylor Swift just gave you a little
She's got a-
he said 400K. Boop, boop.
she's got a that Taylor Swift's got a future.
Exactly.
It's insane.
This is you, Nnamdi. This is you.
Yeah,
this is you too. You wrote about this too.
I should have put my newsletter here.
How about you guys just read the newsletter, 97 demo newsletter? How about you just subscribe? I said subscribe.
Subscribe. No, you're so right. I should put my newsletter here. I put Pharrell. I was really big on. I thought Pharrell should make this list because I think oftentimes we talk about like sort of the power artists and musicians have being like sort of cultural leaders to sort of advocate for things that are near and dear to them. And I think it's sort of a waste when artists just sort of forget all of that and just strictly focus on entertainment, even if something's happening right in their face. Cough, cough, Drake. So, for now, I'll say it. I mean, I hope you don't hear this because, Aubrey, I mess with you, but come on, what are we doing?
Dang.
Aubrey
go take some podcast.
Yeah, this man about to take subliminals on his next EP or album.
He's gonna be like, wait, what's Drake's diss verse against me?
I heard 97 demos.
No, he would like.
So it was like, I heard this boy got 97 demos, but none of them is hidden.
Like back in '97, I listened to some demos.
No, exactly. Something like that. Exactly. Like, who are we talking about?
Boys on the 97 demo talking about me. Back in '97, I was. Sorry. Oh, that is so.
They were still in their mama's tummies, something like that.
Can that be an episode that's just like guessing what Drake bars?
Drake would say.
Okay, sure. Sorry. But I wrote about this on our 97 Demo newsletter, so you should go listen to that. But basically, so Pharrell is from Virginia Beach, and in 2019 he launched a festival there called the Something in the Water Festival. It was a massive success. It had an amazing set list of people like Quavo performed, SZA performed, like it was huge. And it was like for the city itself, it provided this sort of like boom of like economic resources because just millions of dollars sort of poured into the city because of this festival. You have to think about vendors, the people that they're bringing in. It sort of pushing, like funding the local economy for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a very, very
local businesses.
It was a very successful endeavor. Yeah. Basically, earlier this year, Pharrell's cousin was shot by a police officer, fatally killed by a police officer in Virginia Beach. There was apparently a skirmish. It was a chaotic night, and his cousin was killed. Pharrell has sort of spoken out about the handling of that and how he wasn't a fan from the investigation. He was calling at one point for the DOJ to get involved. He said he didn't really trust the investigation as it was happening. There was very little accountability as far as the officers that actually were behind the shooting. The family, they weren't really informed in a timely manner. The mayor at no point ever tried to communicate to the actual family, despite, trying to get Pharrell to bring this festival back. And to sort of express his frustration with the handling of this, murder of someone who was in his family, but also just another police shooting of a Black man, he sort of was like, I'm pulling my festival out of here. I'm not going to give money to this city that isn't taking something this serious as seriously as you should. Mm-hmm. And so often in these times that the only way to get people to listen is through their pockets, right? Mm-hmm. And for Pharrell to hit that so directly and say, look, I don't care. I will miss out on this check. I will figure out another way to make money. But I know this will hurt the city because you guys needed this money and we're coming right after a pandemic. So this would have been a difference for you guys. But I'm not doing it because I don't like your handling. To me, it was like one of the few times I saw an artist actually use their platform to sort of enact change. Because I guarantee the next time this happens now, they're going to act a little bit quicker.
I agree.
It would have been easy for him to just get the check and do the festival and make a statement at the festival. But this is like a bigger way to do that.
Yeah, I kind of want to, Nnamdi, you can, you'll understand this. You guys both get it actually, but like a way to like enact change oftentimes with these big companies or whatever, it's like hit them where it hurts, their pocketbooks. And, you know, I can think about, this is just something I just think about, but, you know, Nnamdi at Mizzou in 2015, obviously the football team sat out of a game and they lost millions. They were going to lose millions of dollars. And that's really what enacted like some change to happen at that time. And Pharrell just said, hey, I'm going to do this. Y'all not going to get this money that you normally would get. The economy's going to suffer. And they did something about it. So I really respect Pharrell doing this. Obviously, you know, Pharrell didn't do anything significant music-wise, but I think this is big enough that he deserved a spot on this list because, obviously, Pharrell's a legendary producer and whatnot. So yeah, and probably he has more music coming. Hopefully with Pusha.
He probably produced something.
I want it. I want it, Pusha. I want it.
And like high key, everyone, Avery, don't leave this screen yet because I want. Oh, that ad just changed. But I wanted to make a point because of a line you just said about. It would have been so easy for Pharrell to still have this festival go on and maybe take the microphone and say, hey, y'all need to do something, you know, sort of try to straddle the fence, make my money, but also make a statement. It would have been so easy to do that. But he said, screw the money. Like, I don't need to check. Y'all need to check, and I'm not giving it to you. And that is so much more of a bigger statement. And I say that because I'm looking at this ad for free Larry Hoover merch from Kanye and Drake. And to me, it sort of feels like that's sort of like the foil to what Pharrell did, like as far as how you make a statement, right? Like if Kanye and Drake wanted to, they could say, we're not going to drop music for the next 3 months until someone at least picks up this case. Of course, they would, you know, they're not going to do that. But it's sort of like a similar, that feels like a parallel, like saying, I'm okay with not making money right now if it's going to
hurting your bottom line
cause I believe in.
I think back to like the NBA bubble, you know, where they decided to continue playing and wear messages on their jerseys, you know, and I'm not dissing them for this. I want to make that clear, but it was like they continued to play and do what they had to do, but also like made a statement. Whereas like, you know, something like what Pharrell did of just not doing it entirely, you know, is the bigger statement. So
the NBA had a chance to look. Remember, there was discussions about literally them walking out the bubble and not playing because of what happened with in Minnesota, obviously with George Floyd and other cases going on there. I think it was Jacob Blake that was going on at the time. It was Jacob Blake at the time for sure. And there was a day they sat out and there were discussions, but they didn't really go all the way there. But Pharrell went there. He's like, nah, I ain't doing this, which is respect.
He had a unique opportunity and he seized it. So shouts out to Pharrell.
Definitely deserving of artist, one of our artists
of the year.
This is another one that didn't do anything.
My next one is struggling, so just keep talking.
No, it's all good. This next one didn't release any music, but definitely her impact overall. Britney Spears. Obviously, she hasn't been super active, you know, with music, you know, putting out albums, but her overall situation going on with her conservatorship drew a lot of eyes and caught a lot of people's attention. Obviously, she was in court all this year, essentially, with the conservatorship with her father. But obviously, I want to point out the documentary that came out this year, which was really impactful about, you know, obviously with that and how she was covered, the Justin Timberlake thing, which is obviously getting some pushback on the Janet Jackson thing that happened years ago too. We called him down on that. But like a lot of things going on around her got a lot of attention, and kind of like her overall treatment as a person has been handled. And I feel like it made a huge impact in the music industry.
And I want to actually go back to where you started about her not making music, because that's connected to this. And we were talking about, you know, sort of using your platform. In this case, it was to self-advocate. But Britney Spears, the reason she hasn't made music is because she said, I'm not making music under this conservatorship anymore. I'm not performing. I'm not going to release a single. I'm not going on tour. I'm not doing anything to give people money who won't even give that money to me. That's sort of how this whole conservatorship thing kind of came out to the public view, because there was a moment where it was like Britney Spears was going to do a new Las Vegas residency, and then it didn't happen. And the next thing you know, she was like sent to a rehab facility, and that was the first time we were kind of like, what's happening there? Then her fans started coming out with the Free Britney thing, and they started analyzing all of her Instagram posts, and we all thought they were crazy, but turns out they had a point. And you know, you sort of find out that Britney Spears has been sort of held hostage like in her own home for like the last decade. And I give her credit not only for sort of self-advocating and hurting her own bottom line by saying, I'm not making music, I'm not doing anything until I get my day in court. and really sort of just putting, I think, the issue of conservatorships on the map for so many people. Because, you know, while this is something that typically is reserved for like elderly people or those who are disabled, or those, you know,
mentally,
Britney Spears sort of showed us that, like, regardless of who it is, this is a system that once you're in, it's almost impossible to get out of. You have no power. You have no, you can't make any decisions for yourself. Your autonomy is gone. And I don't think people realize sort of the extent of this problem or how this whole thing works until it happened to a Britney Spears. So I think just for doing that, and honestly forcing all of us to not just reconsider the very ongoing current problem of not even problem, but current, you know, challenges with conservatorships. There was also, with the documentary, like you mentioned, making all of us realize how the media sort of contributed to all of this. Like she made us all sort of reflect on whether you worked for the New York Times or whether you did broadcast or whether you were just a fan who bought a magazine cover. Like, you really sort of considered like how this woman was like breaking down in front of all of us, and we just ate popcorn and watched it happen.
Yeah.
And I think that was almost just as important, making us really kind of think about that.
Yeah.
We have to shout out, you know, also, you know, Nnamdi mentioned it, but the Free Britney movement, those who were supporting her. And then also,
it was going hard.
We're all journalists, and there was some really fantastic journalism done in the past few months around Britney Spears, including by the New York Times. Did really great reporting on it. So
yeah, they really did. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm just thinking it back. Like, remember when she cut her hair way back when, and people use that as a joke? And
leave
like,
Britney alone.
Leave Britney, you know, exactly.
No, actually, if we're being honest, that was probably the first Free Britney fan. The Leave Britney Alone. I forgot his name.
That guy.
He probably is like the first, because he was the only one who at the time was saying, "Leave her alone. Do y'all see what she's going through?" And all of us, and what did we do? We laughed at it. We made him a meme.
Exactly, and she became. It became like a pop meme, like, oh, cut your hair off, you're Britney Spears. Exactly. Yeah. So shout out Britney Spears. Obviously, you know, we haven't even got to hear her voice that much, honestly, like her say anything, but that just shows like impact she made overall. So
she got married too this year. So
congrats.
She got married, or is she still disengaged?
Yeah, she got married this year.
Congrats.
Or is she gonna get engaged? She got engaged.
Either way, congrats. She found a love of her life, so that's good. Yeah. Either way.
No, because I feel like Britney Spears once said, "I'm not getting married again." I feel like I remember that headline somewhere.
She's at least engaged. She's at least engaged.
But that's amazing. So Britney Spears absolutely on this list. Hey, we have 4 more, you guys. So that Britney Spears is our 11th pick. This isn't ranked though, so she just was the 11th person we talked about. The next one.
A lot of women on here. Adele. I love it. A lot of women.
We do have a lot of women. I'm such a fan. So I have Adele is one of the few artists we have on here, honestly, because of her music.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of the success of 30 and the sort of benchmark that comes with it. So we did a review of 30 where we talked about how 25 sold 3.3 million units its first week. It was like unheard of. It was incredible. It was sort of like mind-boggling.
Monumental.
Years later, after Billboard has changed their bundling rules, we are in a much more streaming heavy society now. Adele sold, I believe, 838,000 copies first week of 30, which a lot of people were critiquing as like, oh, this huge drop. But to me, it was just like, that's not a drop. This is what the music industry is now. This is now the new benchmark. Because for me, no one has been able to sell more than 1 million copies first week since that change happened. Even Taylor Swift, among all her success, has not been able to move a mill. So if Adele can't do it anymore, I'm just not convinced that's a thing anymore in music. So for me, it was sort of like acknowledging that 30, or Adele still is that girl when it comes to the music industry, where she can drop something, have it appeal across all generations, all genres, all fan bases, have people actually go to the store or go to iTunes and buy the actual album. And she sold, literally, I think she became the best-selling album in the U.S. after 3 days of release. Yeah. She's now, I think, the best-selling from a physical point the entire year already. She has that record. She pre-ordered 500,000 vinyls. I'm sure she's going to hit that soon. Mm-hmm. She's just been immensely successful with 30, and I think for me, she has to be on this list just because she's that girl. No one has done it better.
I mean, it's just the fact that like how she rarely releases music. Like her last time, let's think about it. Since 2008, she only has 4 albums. Think about that. 2008. In 2008, she drops 19, 2011, 21. 2015, 25, and 2021, 30. That's insane.
Adele's
13,
powerful, man.
four albums in 13 years. That's unheard of now. You cannot do that, literally. And the fact that, like, honestly, anytime she relates, honestly, if we do this again 7 years from now, she's gonna be on the list again. Like,
Adele feels like the epitome of like mass appeal. Like everyone loves Adele.
mass. Yeah, literally.
But it's like it's almost it feels like a contradiction because it's mass appeal, but it also is like she's super timeless and doesn't make music for mass appeal.
Exactly.
If that makes sense.
I agree.
It's weird how it
timeless
works.
Timeless is a great word.
Because
this is music that will always age well.
But
it'll always sound good.
Something that's hard to do. She literally hits every corner. Like, even though Taylor Swift is a super duper pop star, I feel like there's a section like I don't listen, but like literally Adele. I saw what's his name? The Florida artist. He was singing Adele. I'm sorry, I'm blanking out right now. Chubby black guy.
Chubby black guy from Florida.
Kodak?
Not Kodak. The other one. Oh crap. Oh, Wave.
Rod Wave.
Rod Wave. There we go. Bam. The video of him like singing Adele, that just made me realize that took too long. The video of him singing Adele made me realize like just every corner of like music she literally hits, because not every artist can do that.
They sang Adele at this Kanye
not
concert.
every, like rarely any artist can do that.
Yeah, the Kanye thing, they were covering it essentially.
At this concert on Thursday, they played they sang Easy on Me.
Exactly. They did like a
last night in our Uber, Nnamdi, Easy on Me came on.
Oh, they did. Easy on Me, by the way, is number one for like the 6th or 7th week.
I know we were talking, that stuff about Easy on Me, but like I still love that song. I kind of love it even more.
It's about divorce, babe. It's about divorce.
Divorce, babe. Divorce,
babe.
So yeah, I mean Adele kind of speaks for itself. So great music.
Oh, I'm excited about this one. Okay, you guys. So our next. Down to the final 3. Next person artist on the list is BTS. And I'm so happy because I think they're one of the most deserving people easily on this list. If this was ranked, I would have them much higher. BTS is on this list because they did the seemingly impossible. I want to be clear that this group had a really, really high bar for succeeding and breaking out in America. They weren't making music that was in English. A lot of these mainstream awards, they just don't really credit foreign acts that often. It's so hard to get recognized. It's so hard to get your music played on the radio. And therefore it's so hard to get on Billboard. But BTS and their rabid fan base have been able to sort of break all of these records. And what has been a concerted campaign, like don't get it twisted. These fans go on social media, connect with one another and say, hey, we're all going to stream from this time to this time so that even if they don't play their music on the radio, they'll be able to chart on Billboard based on the streaming metrics. Like I've seen threads where fans are able to break down exactly how Billboard tracks to make sure BTS gets their fair share. And it's sad that BTS they've had to go through that much effort just because, again, it's just harder for foreign acts. At least let me be clear, non-Western foreign acts to break out in America. They were able to do it, and all of a sudden BTS started becoming the first South Korean act to do, or first Asian act to do X, Y, and Z. Whether it was top the Billboard Hot 100, or have 3 consecutive #1 albums in the same year, or perform at the Grammys, or become Grammy nominated, or have a YouTube video to reach a certain amount of clicks. The most recent one, I just pulled this from November 22nd. They became the first Asian act to win AMA's Artist of the Year. And I think it's not really just about their rise, because they've been successful for a minute. It's the fact that they were able to do all this in America, a country where just up until like a year ago, our president used to call the COVID-19 virus the Kung flu virus. They were able to still, or the Wuhan virus, or what else did he, all the stuff.
All the above.
They were able to break out despite that the rhetoric that may have made it harder, the general barriers that probably made it harder. Just with them and their fans, they're able to do it, and I gotta respect them for that.
I mean, BTS is one of the most powerful. We always talk about who's powerful. Like BTS is really powerful. They are very powerful individuals, and their fans are. I mean, honestly, BTS is great, but their fans have a huge part. Like they are really, really avid fans. Like we talk about fandoms. Like, oh my gosh, they're so into like BTS is really stringent on making sure every song goes #1. Every song is a top 10 hit. And you got to respect that they've been able to build that kind of fan base. And obviously that they can speak English really well and all that stuff helps. But still, the fact that it happens, because obviously there's other K-pop acts.
Yeah.
There's other K-pop acts.
They're leading the way for it.
Yeah, they're leading the way, and there's other K-pop acts that have been on the Billboard have been successful. Like Blackpink. I'm pretty sure that's another one. Like there's other pop acts, but BTS is leading the way.
I can't stress how impressed I am every time I watch BTS perform. They're so good. They're so fun to watch. Like,
it's 7 guys. That's not easy.
Great. Like they coordinate. Like it's crazy how well manicured their performances are and how fun they are to watch. Even though like obviously I can't understand what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed. They're very talented. I'm glad we're giving them their flowers. They deserve it.
Yeah. Oh, another one.
Wow, we really do have. This is a very woman-dominated list, and that was unintentional too. I love that. I kind of love that for us.
I love it. I mean, they deserve it. All these women on here deserve it 100%.
We included Doja Cat on this list because I just think it's fun to recognize that we now have another Black pop star, because that's what I'm going to call her. I've realized you've spent so long trying to label her as a female rapper or R&B singer or whatever, and to me, Doja Cat is a pop star. She's clearly an insanely talented pop star who's versatile. Yes, she raps, she can do the R&B thing, but for me, everything about her, from the creativity behind her visuals and how seriously she takes her performances and just her sound, she sort of now occupies the ever evolving lane of the Black pop star that has gone from Janet Jackson to Beyonce to Rihanna, and I think Mariah Carey, and I think is very naturally landing in the hands of Doja Cat. You know, I wouldn't even I'm not going to put Mariah Carey in the list. I think there's a component of this is the performing part of it.
Yeah,
and
true.
That's what makes her so stand out, for at least to me right now, this moment. Because we have amazing dancers. There's a ton of amazing dancers out right now, but Doja Cat sort of takes it to the next level. And when you think about the fact that, just as this video pointed out, Moo came out in 2018. She was known as that cowgirl.
I remember that meme.
Song Moo. In 2018, and now 3 years
later,
she
said she dropped out of high school in 2014 to pursue music when she was 17.
She's been working for so long, and I just think we're now seeing the culmination of all those efforts, because she's been so successful this year. I think got like 8 Grammy noms this year. She's won Hello awards at the VMAs. Like, she's just been so successful. Planet Her has been on so many year-end lists. Like,
her infectious ass songs. Kiss Me More is one of my favorite songs.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Like, literally, when you think about songs that are popping Doja Cat, there's about 10 that come to mind. See, legit. I was literally going through her top songs, like, wow, these are all legit. And when I think about like an artist that like defines TikTok as like the top TikTok artist, you would say it's Doja Cat. Yeah. It's literally Doja Cat. Well, every one of her songs is a part of some kind of trend or meme or whatever. And Doja Cat is literally everywhere.
TikTok and it's her music videos.
It literally, exactly. And now the fact that it's solidified, but the fact like I think she's the biggest most streamed female artist on Spotify monthly, I believe, or it might be rapper. I don't remember, female rapper, one of those. But the fact that she's up there in terms of like being the most streamed something on Spotify speaks to her talent and her how much she's grown this year, which I respect, which is interesting considering last year there was like controversy around her, but now obviously it's like,
who cares? Yeah.
Who cares?
Shoot up.
Exactly. So Doja Cat, you on this list, and our very last inclusion of our top 15 is Megan Thee Stallion, and I think it's her graduating college. Like, she's done a lot of amazing things this year, but for me, I wanted to recognize her, and I'll let y'all go for this because I think it's sort of a path you just haven't seen. Like, we met Meg Thee Stallion. She was always very vocal about, I may be a rapper, I may go on stage and shake my ass, I may do whatever, but I'm still in school. Like, that was always the brand. The brand was like, I'm doing it both.
She tweeted about studying for finals and stuff.
Yes. And I think like all of us sort of have thought like, okay, well, if I was in this position, I'm dropping it. The minute I got
I'm not going to college.
I'm not who's about to log into Canva? Me? Are you kidding?
Literally.
Like,
not me. Oh my gosh. I just made a song take me back.
Beyonce. And the fact that like she saw it through and did it, I just think is so like, not only is it impressive, I think it's inspiring for a lot of people who feel like if I do music, I don't got to worry about school. I can just call it a day. And we've seen and talked about how for so many rappers, like after your little peak, you're screwed. Like the money dries up. So I think the fact that she's sort of just putting this message out and just being an example, I think will really have an impact for a long time.
Yeah, it shouldn't get lost. She very obviously visibly went to an HBCU and
Yeah.
put a lot of attention on them yesterday. And that is also very, very cool. And also,
That's
the
great.
fact that Meg Thee Stallion and I graduated college the same year, amazing.
Class of
2021, killing
class of
it.
2021. You and Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah,
Well,
and then also I think what
graduated this year.
what strikes me the most about Meg is that for like 3 years now, she's kept her foot on the pedal. Like she's had momentum.
When was she studying for finals? That's
literally
the question I have.
No idea.
3 straight years. She's just been killing it, and just like feels like she has not slowed down
At all.
Love you, Meg.
Love you, Meg.
Feels like my sis. Feels like my
Literally.
sis.
Yeah, but Meg, just don't listen to the good news review. If we love you, just don't.
Wait, good news review. What?
I'm just telling you, don't listen to
Wait,
that
it's good
review.
news.
I don't remember
Wait,
that
I'm
one.
confused. We did a review on good news.
I'm not doing this with you. Are you joking?
I'm kind of lost here, guys. Like, we did a good news review.
Are you kidding?
Are you for real?
I'm not doing this.
Guys,
with
I'm joking. Jeez,
I don't
guys,
believe it.
obviously.
He's not joking, but I'm gonna
Guys,
let him
I
have
know.
it.
No, I know we did a good news review, guys.
When we do it.
Last year with Sydney. I know exactly.
Oh.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Hold on. You guys are really can't catch sarcasm seriously. Am I
Your
that good?
sarcasm isn't good. I need here's
Am I that good at this?
No. Here's a public PSA that needs to happen. If your sarcasm fails to translate, that is your fault. That is not on us for not receiving your sarcasm. That means you
Hold
did not
on. The
do a
man
good
that
enough
literally
job
remembers every single
at
review,
giving
every single
sarcasm.
episode ever. I upload all these.
That's why it was so shocking that
Meg, we did not do
remember.
Meg, we did not do good news review. We love you. We don't say nothing negative about you ever. Trust me.
You guys, we're gonna run through the end of this. This is a long episode. So new releases. I got a new album from A Boogie with a Hoodie before Ava. Rick Ross, which than I ever been. Alicia Keys put out a new album called Keys. Then we got a couple singles. What did you guys listen to any of this?
I didn't even know Alicia Keys dropped an album. That's dope. I'm gonna listen to that today.
I put one of the songs from one of our playlists.
That's super dope. That's super dope, man. This Fanta Hughes, was super
So
dope.
good.
Breakfast,
Really good.
super good. We still support you, Fanta, despite obvious things, but we still support you and your music. And obviously, Earl Sweatshirt announced an album with a single, so I'm excited about that. So yeah, that's what hit for me.
Avery.
I'll just shout out this Mitski song, Heat Lightning. It's really great. All 3 singles have been fire. Just killing it. Tierra Whack Pop, little 3 song EP.
Oh.
I don't even know. What is it called when it's 3 songs?
EP.
3 songs. It's great.
Tierra Whack
Whack's-
dropped an EP. She dropped a little something.
It's 3 songs. I don't know what to call it.
I'm still hyped.
It's an
Tierra
EP.
Whack is
I
super
will call
dope.
it an EP.
EP.
Sometimes I'll call it a single. because
Yeah.
the singles you can sometimes release more.
Yeah.
So Mitski and Tierra Whack, go listen to that.
I'm just gonna talk about Richer Than Ever Been real quick about Rick Ross, and it's not because of the music. It's because I'm sad he changed his cover.
That cover.
I almost wrote about it in our newsletter, but the original, well, and what I think, let me just say I think, because nothing I guess was ever super duper confirmed, but he tweeted out when he announced his album what seemed to be a cover, which had him in like a cream colored cape, a like pink fedora. He was covering like white gloves covering his face. It gave rich, it gave pomp, it gave like, maybe Queen Elizabeth, a little bit the royals.
It felt like wealth. It just looked like
It felt wealth. It felt like old
Like
money.
money.
Wealth,
Like
which
money.
was the goal of the album. The goal of the album was to communicate that, so the cover succeeded. But Twitter bullied him because they say they look like, some people say they look like a grandma, other people say they look like an AKA, other people say they look like Saucy Santana, and that was just like too much for him to handle. And now the cover we're stuck with is just so lame. It is just so lame. I'm like, if there was ever an option to go with the other cover, I don't know. I just don't know.
Not as visually
why
appealing.
they switched. It's not visually appealing at all.
boring.
It's basic.
It's boring.
It's so boring.
Boring.
And like,
Good point.
I can say this. I've never considered buying a Rick Ross vinyl. Honestly, had he kept the old cover and the album was good, I would have bought that as a vinyl because it was a cool cover.
It was cool.
Especially for a rapper, it was a really cool cover.
Not to mention that like Rick Ross's music sounds expensive. And
Yeah.
it sounds like
I just
rich
don't know
and
why
wealthy,
he
and
let-
that cover felt wealthy. So it felt
That's
like,
a good
it seemed
point.
perfect.
It's just so upsetting. I'm like, if he really changed that cover because of the social media
Luxurious,
reaction,
right?
that is just so.
Oh.
That is the culmination of like what I think the problem is with rap. Like this sort of hyper masculine BS limits creative expression.
Nah, say it. Say it.
It limits the creative expression,
Right.
and that's so frustrating. Because think about how much visuals you may have been robbed of because it's like, oh well, they're gonna call me Saucy Santana.
Yeah, I bet that was like a music video idea probably too, and he probably scrapped the whole thing. I feel like.
But I'm confused though because on his social media pages, he still has the old cover as like his Abby.
And some of the singles have that too. Some of the singles have
I don't
him in
know.
like that
I'm
outfit
confused. I just wish he like admitted full hearted because I mean again like this new cover is just so bad. It doesn't match Richer Than I Ever Been. It just doesn't. It's whatever. I'm over it. I'm gonna run through.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna run through Billboard highlights super quick. On the Hot 100, it's about Mariah Carey's reoccurring annual bag is coming back. All I Want for Christmas for You is charting at number 3 now. Easy on Me is number 1. I believe it's the highest charting Christmas song right now. So do not be surprised if again next week you see that jump to number 1, as has happened year after year after year after year.
Oh God,
I always forget that the Christmas wave starts this early, but
it's crazy.
This is one of the moments I think you remember that radio plays a huge part in Billboard. That's all this tells me. And on radio, and if you think about traditional radio stations, this is around the time you start hearing a couple more Christmas songs pop up on the chart.
Is Michael Bublé on here? Oh, there you go, right there. See, look at that. There he is.
You already know what's going on. You know
Michael Bublé.
Wham! Last Christmas. Fire Christmas song.
It is fire.
I think stay tuned to our newsletter in a couple of weeks. I want us to do. I think we're gonna do
favorite Christmas songs.
Song. Yeah,
that's a good one.
So that's what you have there. And that's what, and on the Billboard 200, and honestly, the predictions and the Billboard 200 have the same thing. Taylor Swift and Adele are still going to be 1 and 2. They've sort of occupied that spot on the albums chart for the past like 3 weeks since the album Adele came out.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because to just speak to the power of like Adele, her second and third week sales are really sort of like what a lot of artists try to do in their first. Like I think week 2 she sold like 285. Week 3 she sold like 185. It's like this is insane. Again,
do we
the
think
power of Adele.
This is kind of a little unrelated. Do we think that Kanye and Drake's albums? I mean, Drake's pretty high up on this list. But do we think like they're gonna see a bump maybe because of the concert?
I could see it. I think it's gonna be more Kanye than Drake, to be honest. And I think it'd be like maybe Kanye's older stuff. I don't know if I see CLB. Well, maybe
it's already.
I can see CLB getting a little bump. I could see CLB.
It was the person who performed a lot of those songs. So I mean,
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, like, is Drake gonna go from 5 to 4? That's not like a huge bump anyway. Yeah. I mean, maybe it is considering we don't get like specific sales of like the difference, but I can see. I don't even
know where Donda is. Donda's what 25.
Yeah, so
I can see it going up.
I still see Donda Deluxe billboards in Chicago. They're still up. It's just a black billboard, but nothing special about it. But yeah.
Okay, so Project of the Week, ladies and gents.
Yeah, I'm first, guys. Let's get it. Navy's Reprise by Navy Blue. I was just listening to this, getting ready for the show with Wiki and Navy Blue. It was a great show. Shout out to them. Shout out to DiMaggio. He's on this album. He performed. He has great projects too. Shout out to Samira the Truth from Chicago. She was super dope. She had a great show. She was funny. So yeah, Navy Blue, Navy's Reprise. Great album. It'll be somewhere on my year-end list.
Ooh.
Of albums. Somewhere.
Little tease.
You know what I'm saying? Little tease.
My project of the week is Sawayama by Rina Sawayama. Just one of the best pop albums that came out last year. Comme des Garçons for the Boys is like my song right now.
That's such a dope title for a name. That's like a song title.
I was listening to this and I'm like, it feels like if Ariana Grande sang over a Charlie XCX song, because it's so chaotic and her voice sounds so good. It's just like something I never knew I needed until I listened to this album.
I need it.
So listen to Rina Sawayama. She's killer.
For sure.
Nnamdi?
I chose Graduation by Kanye West. This was 100% fully inspired by his Larry Hoover benefit show because he kept on coming back to Graduation and reminded me of why I love this album.
What's your favorite song?
Yeah, everybody say their favorite song right now.
Wait. Time out. Are we like, okay, there's levels to this. Kanye general or Graduation specific?
Graduation.
Wait.
Also, we have an episode about Graduation, so you guys should go listen.
We do a deep dive?
We did a deep dive way back.
Was it Graduation specifically or was it just Kanye?
Yes, we did.
It was Graduation, and we talked about the 50 Cent thing.
I'm proud of that one.
That was a great one. That was a great one.
That was a good idea.
That was a good idea. We need to bring that back. But okay.
Wait, can we say it on? Wait, can I go first?
Go ahead. Yeah. You're right.
Today, at least in the aftermath of that concert, is definitely Can't Tell Me Nothing.
Oh my God!
Definitely Can't Tell Me Nothing.
I was gonna say that, but I have my my personal favorite that I just love is I Wonder, because that
And
sample that sample means a lot to me. Like seriously,
one of the great samples of all time.
Yeah, that sample means a lot to me. So I really love that sample. It's not Stevie Wonder too. I used to think that was Stevie Wonder for the longest, but it's not. But yeah, I love that sample. But Can't Tell Me Nothing, just the way he comes in, like
can't tell me nothing.
I thought I could buy my way to heaven, bro.
When I woke up, I spent that on a necklace.
Man, that's literally top 5 hardest songs.
Where is this album? I don't actually. I have a question.
We're not doing
I want
this.
to ask, but we can't do it. We don't have the time.
Okay, I think my favorite is Good Morning. I love Good Morning so much.
Yeah, that's a perfect intro.
It's perfect.
That used to be my alarm for a while.
That's a good one.
Me too. You know what's so crazy? Me too in high school.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, that's not that. I used to be in school when I first get to class listening to Good Morning. Like, yeah, Good Morning.
You know, this episode has been such a fun one. I'm glad we're doing this. But if you're still listening, thank you for following us as we launch our year-end series. And I really like the idea. I love that we just did Artist of the Year and got to highlight all these amazing people. Yeah. So stick around, because next week we're going to be doing Headlines of the Year. We didn't go over our newsletter, but definitely go check that out. We send it out every Friday. Find it on all of our socials. It's really funny because people sometimes like the newsletter more than the podcast. I don't know how to feel about that, but definitely go check that out too.
It's all a part of it. It's all the
same ecosystem.
It's one network. It's one network.
We build off each other.
Ooh, the 97 network trademark. Okay, I like that.
Trademark.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week.